because and I messaged him nicely privately, and so I won't mention his name, but he's a preacher, and he just finished preaching about how God forsook Jesus. It's a well-known grace preacher, and so I messaged him and was just talking back and forth with him. I said, so if we say Jesus believed God forsook him, and then we say we have the mind of Christ, will we now also believe that God has forsaken us? Or will we now have a different faith than the one Jesus had as he hung on the cross? Ooh. And he didn't respond back. And that's just it. We can't say we have the mind of Christ and then define the mind of Christ as that he believed he was forsaken by God. Right. And then try to find ourselves persuaded that we're not forsaken. Right. We'll labor and toil. And what we miss about what Jesus had to do, see, when Adam fell, he saw death. He saw death manifesting in his body. Mm. He saw decay coming to his body. His body didn't look the same as it looked before he fell. Mm. And that subverted his soul. And see, he didn't possess the ability to believe that death could be conquered. He didn't possess the ability that God would come and conquer his death. Yeah, right. And so he didn't find the ability to sit in that death and say, no, I won't lift one finger to clothe myself, for that guy is going to come and do it. So Jesus comes as the last Adam, and he takes all the death of the world upon him, and he looks at that death manifesting in his body. And from that place, he needed to resist the temptation that Adam couldn't resist. Mm-hmm. He needed to see that death, and in the face of that death, know that he didn't have to clothe himself. Right. Know that God would come and clothe him, that God wouldn't forsake him, that God would come and be with him. And he did. Yeah. And that's how he resisted sin unto his death to sin on behalf of the human race. And then man could die unto sin in him. We could be divorced from Adam. We could be divorced from the death that was reigning over us. And then we could have the ability to now walk in newness of life. But if you go back and read Psalm 16, and you get to the end of Psalm 16, it starts talking about how you will not suffer your Holy One to see corruption. Right. Now, we always just thought that that's talking about David, but David was prophesying of Jesus. And it's the words of Jesus, and Jesus was speaking through the heart of David. Jesus is the anointed one. He is the Holy One. And he was speaking through David. You will not suffer your Holy One to see corruption. That's what Jesus believed on the cross. Mm-hmm. And that enabled him, that stilled his soul. And it brought rest to his flesh. He looked at his flesh and he said, I see this flesh that I have as dying, and I see this flesh that I have does not possess the ability to bring forth life. But this guy can bring forth life, even to this flesh that I see that's dying.
Amen.
No one